Hello everyone and welcome back to the LCS Dome powered by Alienware as we aim to conclude the first week of the LCS Summer Split. I'm Dash, happy to be joined by Prawley, Crumbs, and Mark to kick things off here on this fine Sunday. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at the standings. We've got some familiar faces at the top, and unfortunately we've got some familiar faces at the bottom as well, gentlemen. But only a few games have been played so far in the split, so plenty of room to shuffle around. We'll see what teams can do to shake up with our games today. But you see there, Evil Genius is the first to conclude a weekend at 2-0. That's going to feel good for a team that finished top 3 just last split. Cloud9 in tow, looking to lock one up against 100 Thieves today. Now, before we jump into today's games, I think it's important to point out what we saw yesterday. And what we saw was perfection. We saw perfection from these 3 guys right here. Perfect across the board. All 3 of you on the prediction rates yesterday.
Finally.
4 out of 4. I am so proud of you, gents. So proud.
Yeah, we can only go down from here. Just
Exactly.
This is our peak.
Yeah, we set high bars here so that, we can let momentum carry us through the rest of the split as we roll down the hill. Yesterday's prediction rates, though, weren't the only perfect thing to grace our screens. EG put up a perfect game, and it was the 5th perfect game in the history of the LCS. That's right, 2,266 games have been played, and only 5 of them have been perfect. You see the others on your screen now.
I did one of them. That was me. That was me and Dig. Dig versus Complexity. I looked it up. It wasn't actually the first perfect game. Vulcan and Complexity were the first one, but still up there.
And we checked. Probably was not on Complexity.
Yeah, it wasn't me, guys.
We were hoping.
We were hoping.
I would not allow that. I would bring my entire team to dive bomb that mid lane.
You'd let it be an 80-minute game.
I was going to say, probably was in there. It would have been Ziggs mid clearing forever. And in Crumbs, your perfect game was a sub 20-minute win.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the fastest of the perfect games in the LCS. So
yeah,
what
you
can I
beat
say?
Nick
We got a
Wu
good
so
team.
badly that he became a dev on Valorant. He just decided, I'm done with League of Legends. It's time to go elsewhere. But again, let's talk about EG because what a way to start the split. Granted, it's against the struggling CLG. They sit 2-0. They got the perfect game under their belts already.
Yeah, this was quite the statement game for coming back. I know myself and some other people had them a little bit lower in the power rankings, thinking other teams were going to surpass them. But that was a great way to say, no, we are still probably the second best team in the league right now. They absolutely slaughtered CLG, and I'm excited to see where they can go from here because the synergy has not stopped at all. And Kumo himself has had a lot better games, even against Someday, one of the strongest people in the top lane. He had a great performance.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about Someday later in his matchup against Cloud9. And while, yes, that perfect game was a sight to behold, there was one other big focus for us yesterday, and that was Doublelift versus Tactical, TSM versus TL, and how it would break down. Tactical actually getting the better of this matchup.
It felt like Team Liquid really wanted to make a statement to Doublelift. Like, this could have been us, man. But you chose to go back to your team, and so Tactical just gets to pick up right where he left off and had such a stellar showing. This was where we actually got to see the emotes as well really start to make their mark as the TSM logos were being spammed by Team Liquid members, and you know it stings.
Yeah, I also thought Tactical had like higher than 50% damage share and higher than 50% forward percentage. So this was not just like Core JJ dragging him across the finish line with the Bard. Obviously, Core JJ is incredible, but Tactical himself stepped up really, really hard that game. In some of those clips, you saw how well he was positioning with the Felios.
It should be noted that they had a plus 6.1 JPD, jungle proximity difference, so a little bit more attention going to Tactical than it did going to Doublelift. But all in all, we saw the deathless scoreline for the young AD carry filling Doublelift's shoes. A fantastic start for Team Liquid and Jat at the helm. You mentioned the emotes in there, Crumbs, and that's where I want to go next. The birth of a new meta. It's not just champions, it's also emotes now.
I mean, this is the way you need to assert your dominance. Like, winning is no longer enough in LCS. You actually need to show them you're winning and you're enjoying how much you're beating them. So here we have GGS flashing the Dig symbol as they defeat Dig, which is a pretty awesome one. And then Team Liquid's flashing the TSM signal as soon as they get an objective. So I really like the really polite BM, and of course, poor Impact is stuck solo into Drake, so he's just emoting to himself, but we see you, buddy.
Yeah, we were missing this. It was, I think, 2016 Worlds where we first started getting the emotes. We're like, we need more of this all the time. It was only at Worlds, but now it's everywhere, and I just cannot be happier because we can't get all chat, but this is kind of the same thing.
Mark, what you got going on over there?
I'm just excited that we have all this like software I can mess with. So like I figured out how I can flash my own emotes. So I'll definitely try and throw those in whenever I can.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, again, I'm sure the emote meta will be complex as you have things like the victory, the first blood, and then your ability to just flash whatever you want throughout the game. We'll track that as the season progresses. But given that the first 2 days the first 2 days of play, I wanted to test the predictive capabilities of our analysts with one of our favorite games, over under. And so we're going to start with EG. They had the perfect game yesterday. They're already sitting at 2-0. We're going to throw the line for their number of wins across Summer Split at 11.5. What are you guys thinking here?
I mean, this is a pretty hard one because if you're saying over, you're basically saying they only have 6 losses to work with. And when you're playing against C9, who's so dominant, you can just give them, okay, those are maybe 2 of our losses, and then you have 4 more. So you're saying you have a 100% win record against the bottom 4, and then the top 4, you definitely have a 1-1 record. I think it's pretty hard to get to 12 wins in a season.
Big agree. File me with Prawley on the under for that one.
Okay,
no,
so even with the hot start going under.
I'm not seeing that. I think that the competition is fierce at the top, especially with Cloud9, but everybody else, maybe Team Liquid, maybe FlyQuest. Let's say you lose to all 3 of those and you hit 4th. You're still making that over-under in the above category. So I see that those 4 being the top dogs and everybody else, they could easily roll over. So I'm going over. I think EG is going to have a great split.
All right, well, 16 more games. They'll have to win 10 of them to make Crumbs correct. Moving right along, Team Liquid is our next one. Personally, I think this might be the toughest one to call, just based on how poor their spring split finish was. But over/under on fourth and a half place. How do you say that?
Fourth
and a half
fourth
place.
Half.
Fourth and a 4.5 place. How do you say
Whatever.
that? Whatever it is.
Top
over
4
under.
Or not. Yeah, I'm top 4 is actually, I think, not too hard to get. Obviously, number 1 is taken by C9. You're looking at potentially FlyQuest and EG as other teams rounding that out. And then who is going to battle for the 4th spot? TSM, 100 Thieves, and Team Liquid. I mean, we saw TSM yesterday. They didn't look great. I think TL can easily surpass 100 Thieves. So I'll definitely take the over. I think that they can break into top 4 pretty easily this split.
Wow, what a turnaround that would be. It looks like Crumbs, based on the lower third, agrees with you. Crumbs, what's the reasoning there?
Well, I think that this team is mad, first of all. That was an embarrassment of a first split. And the fact that you have all these players that have been so consistently good for the past 2 years, compared to the rest of the talent pool and teams that we have in the league, I think this team will easily sneak into the top 4. Like, it is no longer a question of, are they a 9th place team? Of course they're not a 9th place team. They knew that the very split they played it. So, especially you got Jack coming in who has a 100% win rate as a coach. So, I think that this team will easily get into playoffs and past 4th place.
But probably you're the odd man out here. So give me that.
I'm just going to say I need to see more before I believe in this.
Who's better?
Team. Okay, we're in best of 1, so I still think there's a potential that TSM could challenge or 100 Thieves could challenge. I don't think, based on last split, we cannot assume any team has a solid game plan because of how like weird last split was. No one was really beating everyone each time. So in summer, I need to see more consistency, and then I'll say like, all right, this guy's 4th. But for now, I'm not going to give anyone that 4th place spot.
All right, too many unknowns for Prawley, but we know TL is generally destined for the number 4 to be somewhere in their season. And next up is TSM, one of those teams you talked about contending TL for a top finish. But we're going to go with the wins here on this one. So the line is 9.5 over under. What are you guys thinking?
So last split they finished with 9 wins, so 9-9. And so if they were to go 9.5, you'd have to go, they improved from the last split. And from what we saw in that opening game, this does not look like an improvement. It looked worse. It looked like more of the same. And it's not like all their players were really delivering the performances we've seen come to expect, except when they came to playoffs. So I think that TSM in regular season is going to go under.
You look almost pained
bought a bunch of their stock. I want to get out. I don't want their stock. I regret it already. Sell. I should have bought 9 TL. Get me out. I want the under. At least I'll get this right.
But that's
I just want to point out that TSM went 9-9 last split. But correct me if I'm wrong, 2 of those losses were Immortals.
Ah.
Right?
Oh.
That's not going to happen this split. Hopefully.
You don't know that yet.
So
TL was also 9th then. They're not going to be 9th again.
True. So they have a little bit more challenge in that department. But I'm going to go ahead and say that 9-9 is like not impossible to meet. And I think they have enough individual talent on the team that over time they can improve and meet that. I'm not going to say that they're good right now. Yesterday looked awful. Today, I wouldn't be surprised if it's awful again, all right? But got to have a little faith, a little belief in the potential.
And probably's got a little faith. It's wild to me that we're even considering, a team with double lift added to the roster, maybe not getting that much better. But I'm going to move us right along to our fourth and final team to talk about here, and that would be the Golden Guardians, an organization that has, slowly improved over the years, split over split. We're putting the line at 9.5 wins. The context here is that this org has never finished better than 9-9. So if they go over 9.5, that will be the best regular split record this org has ever achieved.
The fact that they've never had a winning record is tragic and feels really bad, and it's still not going to be this split either. I'm taking the under.
They're really inconsistent, and they also added a bunch of new players, which will have to build their synergies over time. Like, you absolutely expect that when you have those very crucial synergies like the mid 2v2 that are so new, you might just make a misstep here and there, and suddenly you've cost your team the game from that. That's what happens when you have new rosters that don't have a lot of time together. So for Golden Guardians, that has shown that they are somewhat slow when it comes to getting down that consistent results from whatever their practice looks like into the stage. To say that it's going to be 10 wins, like, that's going to put them really high up there in the standings. So I don't see it.
Under across the board for Golden Guardians for these three. It's going to be time for us to take a quick break, but on the other side, we're going to look at the current meta ahead of Game 1, Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the LCS Dome, presented by Alienware. The return of the LCS brings with it many questions about the developing meta, so let's take our first crack at it with a closer look at the top lane to start. A tale of two Jaces we've had here in NA, Mark.
Yeah, one with Licorice looking really good, one with CLG, not so much, though I blame more the entire draft there. But I am excited to see North America playing Jace again. We got memed super hard for good reason. But I want us to not be scared of playing aggressive champions and stuff just because we failed in the past. You look at the LPL, they're still putting a bit of a priority on it. It's not super high presence in the LEC. It's been picked just once, but there's actually flex to mid lane. But I do think it is a good champion to be picking up in the top lane, and I would rather be looking at LPL as the forefront of the league scene right now and seeing what kind of champions they're playing. And Jace is one of them, so I'm excited to see that a little bit more, and I'm just happy that we are not scared off because of the memes.
Crumbs, you seem a little less sold on the Jace pick.
Yeah. I do not want to see Jace top. I want to see Jace mid. For sure, that's where I think he's much better suited. But that's because the top laners right now are not that good at those skill shots. There are different ways to play around top lane right now. You've got the Scions, the Kaels, the Gangplanks, the Wukong. So I think there's a lot more variety in the top lane. But the Jace top, the NA Jace is the same thing as the NA Rengar and all these other champions. It's like the ping practice, whatever it is, it just doesn't seem to work. And when we go internationally, why not prepare ourselves with things that don't have such high skill ceiling? Just outplay them with any champions that don't require skill shots so that they cannot out dodge you or out micro you. It's just, I think, more reliable and will get us farther.
Let me just jump back to Mark real quick then, because of curiosity, what would be the players that you think are best suited to playing Jace? Obviously, Licorice would be one.
Someday,
but are you,
Licorice,
okay.
Broken Blade, just 3 off the top. Like, those are guys who are supposed to be focal points for their team. Go give them champions that can take over the game. I would expect to see all 3 of them play it.
Within the piece that you just delivered there, Crumbs, you had mentioned Wukong as an opportunity, another champion that has shown a fair amount of presence in other regions but seems to be lacking so far here in the LCS.
Well, Wukong is kind of busted. Double knockup still exists. I think.
So why aren't we playing it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have terrible flashbacks of, Rift Rivals versus Europe when Aatrox was giga busted and North American top laners just didn't play it. This is the highest presence top laner in the LPL, and we don't have a single game on. We have one ban that was kind of a throwaway, like, we'll just ban it in case they play. I don't know why North America does not have any priority on Wukong right now. It blows my mind.
The problem is Ornn. He does too many nice things for North America to be like, dude, why would you not want this? Like, slap this bad boy. He has tank, he has damage. Yeah, all reliable right there. So I think we do need to take a step back and realize, like, all right, so in China, LPL, Mid-Season Cup, Ornn has a high pick ban ratio. It is pretty decent. But in North America, we're sitting at 100%. That is kind of insane considering, yeah, we have one Wukong ban and, like, very little Jace. Like, we do need to open up our champion pools because, yeah, like Mark said, the last time we got slapped internationally from an Aatrox where everyone in NA was playing, like, Rumble and Mundo into it, like, we can stop this Aatrox, and then a month later we're like, wow, we could have had a month free of wins if we just played this champion.
Well, you mentioned
he played Wukong support.
Oh, Lord, I don't want to see that. But you mentioned showing some flexibility, and while maybe there hasn't been as much flexibility around some of these picks we've called out, there has been a player who showed a little flexibility in the top lane. The Karma came out just yesterday for Soaz, alongside many other enchanters across the Rift. Crumbs?
Yeah, so the Enchantress were making a little bit of a surge towards the end of the split, particularly Yuumi, who has the highest ban rate across all regions in pretty much competitive, solo, whatever you want, and Lulu is kind of getting right up there. You can see just how much she adds to the power of a champion like Aphelios or the Corki that we saw earlier, and they're so strong that you can actually pair them away from the support role. You can run them in the mid lane, you can run them in the top lane. Now, that doesn't actually work when you have teams that rely on those roles to be the carries, but the champions in themselves are taking advantage of very cheap and powerful itemization, whether it's the Grail, the Sensors, the Redemptions, whatever you want. They're just so useful at making sure that when you hit the Aphelios power spike, no one can kill you, and you have so much utility in CC that you can just make these compositions be so effective, especially now that the jungle can be a little bit more varied.
Athene's Ardent Sensor, we're back. We're back to that meta. Now, yesterday, we got our first look at TL's first-time head coach, Jat, and it got us a little misty-eyed, I'm going to be honest, for one of our favorite segments, Jat Stats. So we decided to prepare a few ourselves as a little homage to him. These are gimmies. These are just some fun stats. Did you know that Jat is undefeated in the LCS? That's right, he has never lost a game in the LCS. He has also managed to pick Trundle in 100% of games and still get those wins. And somehow, his team plays red side every single game. They've never been put on blue. Fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, this is going down as the greatest coach of all time if he can maintain these records for more than one game.
Yeah,
really
without a doubt. Now on to a little bit of the harder stuff. Each of us have come prepared with a question, a Jat stat, if you will, and I will kick us off. Can the three of you tell me the origin of Jat's summoner name?
Yes.
Okay, please, Crumbs.
It is the combination of his own name, Joshua, with one of his friends, Matt. Therefore, Jat.
Incorrect.
He stole it. He stole it from someone.
No, incorrect. It is an homage to his favorite esports host in the scene, James Patterson.
I like how you couldn't even get one stat. It wasn't even a stat. That was like a little factoid. It's Jat Stats, James. This is why you'll never have a segment.
Whatever,
about
bro.
stats.
Whatever. You got it wrong. So go. Who's next?
It's me. It's me.
Okay, Mark. Do better.
All right. My question is, how many broadcasts regular season has Jat appeared on?
Regular
Like
season
days?
broadcast?
You're
Regular
talking days,
season
right?
broadcast.
Yep, days broadcast. Yeah.
So no Worlds in and no
No
playoffs,
Worlds.
literally just
NA
season?
regular season.
And LCS era, we're not counting.
LCS. Yeah, as a caster.
Okay, I'm going to do some quick maths.
Yeah, you can go like 9 weeks.
Well, so it's
2 broadcasts a week.
essentially
450
years.
I'll say like 320-ish.
400-ish. 400. I'll go right in the middle. I'll split the difference between these guys. 400.
I actually don't know. I tried to do some math, but I think it's around 200 and something. But I'm not sure. It's more like 220.
You gave me so much flack for mine. You don't even know the answer to your own question.
I tried, but I couldn't figure it out. It took too much. It took more time. I developed the question before I had the answer, and then realized the answer was a lot harder to get.
Oh my
It's
God!
like Fermat's last theorem,
Jat would be so disappointed in you. You didn't even come up with a fake stat.
It was a great question, though.
It was a great question.
Sure.
And now I want to know the answer. Maybe some really perceptive or some detective work can be done by some viewers at home to come up with the answer on that one. The one thing we do know is he's done a whole heck of a lot of broadcasts. Crumbs, you're next. What you got?
Yeah, I got a real stat for you, okay? Now, if
All
you
right.
guys know me, you know that sometimes I look at the glass half empty situation, and this is a jungler with a 50% kill participation, 50% team death share, negative XP difference at 10, and negative CSD at 10. Who is it?
I mean, I'm hoping it's Jat from his Dignitas days.
Yes,
I gotta hope this.
I
No,
hope
this
mean,
is
it's
from
Jat's
this
stats.
split. This is this LCS split. The
Oh.
games we've had so far. It's an actual stat.
Wow, this is he took this seriously.
Wait,
he's
I'm
you know what?
confused.
He's gunning for a new segment. Crumbs is considerations.
I'll say
That's what it'll be called.
Medios. I don't know.
Judging by the hair, I'd say Medios.
Yeah, the hair might be a giveaway.
That's the only thing I know.
The
I'm
image
going
is
with
not
the-
right. The image is not the
Oh,
person.
image is not right.
Oh!
All right.
Oh, that was a bait then.
Yeah.
Oof. I'll go Blabber, because did he still die a bunch in that game?
Okay. Guess you guys are so wrong.
All right,
It's
Wiggly.
Ben Scarin.
Oh,
Because he died. They had no deaths in the CLG game, so he has 50% of the deaths of these 100 Thieves games.
Wasn't this segment
Wow.
pitched as coming up with stats
yeah.
about
I thought it
Jack?
was stats about
My
Jack.
goodness. This whole
James
segment's
didn't make
falling apart.
stats.
Here's my
I
hope.
didn't do answer, and Crumbs didn't even do a stat about. Didn't even make it about Jack. We're
Right.
such failures.
Right.
All
So
right,
that's
fine. I'm gonna blow you guys away.
I was good. There's
'cause-
one more person who can bring this
Yeah.
back, probably.
Save us.
Hey, you guys just made my life so much easier. All right, what champions did Jat play in his last professional match? It was a best of 3. It was World Cyber Games, and it was Chicks Dig Elo versus Dignitas. And he played 2 champions over 3 games.
Amumu.
Amumu and Udyr.
Udyr.
Yeah, his two favorite.
So we have 2 people on Amumu Udyr.
Wait.
Yeah, I'm committing.
Google, help me out.
Maybe a Rammus.
Okay,
I don't know. I'm
Trundle.
try-
Trundle.
Ooh, a Trundle call. I like that.
Was Trundle out back then?
And
So like a Mumu Trundle?
Maokai,
You're just
Trundle?
guessing one? All right, Trundle. Everyone's on.
Gangplank
All right,
twice?
Mark. All right, Mark and Dash, you guys get half because he played 1 Udyr game and 2 Gangplank games.
Ugh,
This is
I'm
the
like,
old Gangplank that you could like
Gangplank,
shoot
yeah.
your own minions.
Did they lose
yeah,
that series?
raise morale. But you didn't
They-
have any
yeah, raise
AOE.
morale.
How did you clear back then?
They lost?
I have no clue. They lost.
Oh, okay, yeah, that
And
makes
he played
sense.
Udyr in the last game.
Yeah,
So
that
they're-
makes sense.
Yeah, they're losing
Yeah.
and they play Udyr. I was like, that's a Jet.
Oh,
Get
that's
ready
such a
for
shame.
Brox's Gangplank, apparently.
Well, doing much better as a coach than he I guess he did in his final series as a player. We're going to take a quick breather. When we return, it's more Countdown. Welcome back to the LCS Countdown, where we're gearing up for our first game of the day, Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves. And if we pull up the rest of the schedule, we'll see that Dignitas are facing off against TSM a little later in the day. Team Liquid will take on Golden Guardians before we end the week with CLG and Immortals. Then go ahead and join us for the Bud Light League Lounge, where I'm joined by Azael, Crumbs, and Raz to look back on our first week of play. We'll probably toast a few players, maybe play a game or two, but it's always a good time to close things up and wrap it out. Ahead of Cloud9's return, though, to the Summer Split, Licorice remarked that while many may see him as the leader of the championship squad, that responsibility falls on everyone.
With this team, it doesn't really feel like you can point at one person and be like, they are the leader of the team. So it's like really hard to say that anyone is like leading, because I think like everyone is just doing their job and they're like talking about what they think should be done, and like in a way we're all like little leaders, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But like I don't know. I think we're just like, we're a team of 5 players who are all working really hard and we just really want to win. The mentality that we have is that we are like totally capable of winning another split, because in spring we like basically crushed everybody. So like we know that we have it in us to do it again. So for us, it's just all about focusing on making sure that we get good practice and that we keep improving in the same ways that we have been.
Licorice said it himself right there. Spring Split, they basically crushed everyone, and so much of the story coming into summer was how much better can they get? How good are they really? And who will challenge them?
Yeah, and I especially liked how he said it's like a 5 little leader lineup where everyone has their own idea about what they're trying to do, and they just work really well together to actually make that happen. And that's why they had the most dominant split we've ever seen out of any team in North America. They absolutely slammed the regular season, slammed playoffs, and it looks like they are going to continue doing that in summer here.
I think
Yeah, so
they're
probably.
really
Oh, go ahead, Crumbs.
I think they're really challenging the idea that you need very good competition to reach a certain level, where a lot of times teams are like, oh, the rest of the region's not that good. Like, we can't possibly get better. Like, they clearly don't care. Like, they have found a way to continue to improve, which I think is really impressive and just shows you that you can figure things out internally and actually continue to get better.
Well, let's talk about their competition today then, particularly that top lane matchup, because probably yesterday you so eloquently displayed for us in picture form the extinguishers of the top lane, Someday being one of them, and that's Licorice's opponent here.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be able to break in the top 2. These 2 will cool down any hot top laner pretty quickly. And as you can see, like, these stats for Licorice are obviously insane, because being on Cloud 9 just gives you, I don't know, amazing everything. I think the solo kills compared to Isodeaths is still really nice in Licorice's favor. But I do want to mention a bit on Someday's behalf. Like, the stats don't look too great on his side, but if you talk to any LCS top laner, like, no one's able to play a weak matchup properly against Someday and be comfortable with it, because Someday's just going to use you as a punching bag. So basically, the stats don't tell the whole truth about my boy Someday, but at least you get a good idea of how aggressive he can be.
All right, let's stay on the 100 Thieves train then, Probably. I'm going to come right back to you. Win conditions for today, holistically.
All right, win conditions, I'm going to keep it a lot of it's based on yesterday's match. And I have to say, we had to clean up those whoopsies. There's way too many, like, mid-jungle just hands problems, a little bit of brain problems where we're, like, going in when we don't need to be. So a lot of little individual errors that are just completely fixable mistakes within a day. And then you're playing against Blabber. Blabber's really aggressive. He's going to take over the game, early game, if you give him a good matchup. So Meteos hasn't played well yesterday. Today I want him on a good matchup so he can actually fight Blabber.
Mark, the response for Cloud9?
Somewhat similar mind. I think pick a strong top laner, Jace, Renekton, whatever it is, for Licorice, so he can kind of go 1v1 against him. And then take a greedy jungler for Blabber. Like you're saying about how great he is, we've seen him on things like Nocturne, which can just power farm and then still make plays. Maybe that's Graves, maybe that's Nidalee. There's a lot of things in the jungle right now that you can give to him, Kindred even, that are a little bit more focused on just what they want to do. And the rest of the team will support that.
Well, these guys have laid it out. We'll see if the teams take the advice as we throw it on over to Freak and Azael to get ourselves into Game 1.